The Washington Commanders have been one of the worst teams in the NFL for the last 3 decades, but they've finally made the move to chase a Super Bowl for the first time since 1991.
I mean, there's a palpable optimism that just hasn't been present for some time.
How's it going today? My name is Jesse McNamer, and welcome to Point of View. Before we get into it today, I just want to say we always appreciate your feedback and look forward to reading your comments like the one we've got here. Also, be sure to stay tuned to the end of this episode to see if you can guess today's trivia question down below. To today's topic, will the Commanders end their streak as the laughingstock of the league? With former owner Dan Snyder now out the door and a new influx of talent in Washington, I think they can leave that all behind and be a normal team again. And I mean normal as in one that deals with the regular ups and downs of each season and not all that extra stuff. I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl anytime soon, but they can enter the realm of teams that are building towards that ultimate goal, like a normal team. That really hasn't been the case in Washington since former owner Jack Kent Cooke passed away in 1999 and Snyder took over ownership. In the 2.5 decades since he bought the team, the Commanders have reached the postseason just 6 times, won 2 wildcard games, and never made it past the divisional round. And he hasn't been any better talking to the media. Here is Snyder at Ron Rivera's introductory press conference on January 2nd, 2020, forgetting what time of the year it is.
Good afternoon. First off, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And in between the playoff failures and awkward interview moments have been some pretty terrible decisions, both big and small. In 2000, the Commanders became the first team to implement fees for fans to attend training camp. Later that season, they fired Norv Turner in the middle of a season in which they were 7-6 and firmly in the playoff hunt, only to miss the postseason. And finally, they sued season ticket holders who couldn't keep up with the payments during the 2008 recession. And that's just the tip of the iceberg that I won't go into further, but it's safe to say Snyder was the biggest reason for the lack of success in Washington. He even got Al Michaels to speak up about it on a live broadcast of a Commanders-Bears game in 2022. He said, quote, "What the league would love is for Snyder to sell the team. Not have to go to a vote, but just sell the team, because it's become a major problem around the league," end quote. So finally, just over a year ago today, the NFL and his fans were successful in pushing Snyder to agree to sell the team to new ownership. On July 20th, the sale was finalized and a new ownership group stepped in with Josh Harris as the new managing partner. And I know for a fact that's the best day all of you Commanders fans have had in years. Snyder is the type of owner I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So with that saga in the rearview mirror, it's time to step into a new team landscape with competent owners and a plan to rise from the dead. And that plan began by overhauling the front office and hiring former Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to be the head coach. I know his time in Dallas didn't end how he had hoped, but he's still been to the Super Bowl as a head coach and as a DC, so the pedigree is there. But just a little quick piece of advice for Quinn, leave the old logo behind. So with an entire new leadership group, Commanders added a whopping 30 new players in free agency. It's nearly unheard of to overhaul well over half the roster before the NFL draft, but if any team needed it, it was the Commanders. And new general manager Adam Peters has been through this type of overhaul before with the San Francisco 49ers, when they had no Pro Bowlers and went 4-12. Here's what he said about what to expect with this type of rebuild.
Yeah, those were dark days, but I think the thing that I could tell you is right away with the 49ers, maybe the results didn't show, but you could see it on the field. And you could see what we were doing on the field, and the fans could feel it. And they knew it was turning, and we were close, so it's really, you can't put timetables on it, but what I can tell you is that you're going to see a great competitors. You're going to see physical team. You're going to be really impressed with what you see on the field, and it's going to happen right away. Whether the results come right away, that's a number of different factors, but you guys are going to be very proud of the team that we're going to put on the field.
It's going to take time, but they have a great mix of experienced and young pieces to build on. In free agency, they added veterans Jeremy Chinn, Dante Fowler Jr., and Austin Eckler. They also had a great draft even beyond the fact that I think Jayden Daniels will be a 15-year starter in the league. I mean, what a steal Jerzon Newton was with the 36th pick. Pro Football Focus had him as the 11th best prospect, and a ton of smart people thought he'd be a first-round pick, so to get him early on day 2 is huge. Not only is he a big, powerful force on the defensive line, but he's already way ahead of the curve in terms of reading the offense. Check out these 2 quick examples from number 4 against Michigan and Iowa. First, he pushes down the line until he sees the runner cut back and pulls him down for a loss. In the second clip, he sheds a blocker and isn't fooled by the play fake for another loss. He's going to be something special down the line. I just can't imagine what it feels like to be a Commanders fan right now. To be beaten down by an awful owner for decades, to turning the franchise over to a legit ownership group and showing signs of life again. I know I'm excited to see what they do going forward because I really think in such an odd division that they can surprise people earlier than expected. And playoffs year one isn't out of the question in my eyes because Jayden Daniels is the real deal. For more on why I think he's going to dominate the league, check out this past episode of Point of View. And the moment you've been waiting for, here's the answer to today's trivia question. We appreciate you tuning into this episode of Point of View, and we will see you in the next one.